Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming in on a beautiful Saturday morning. My practice is based here in Eugene. It's called the Enlightened Principle Nutrition, and today's class is going to be basically on the foundation of what I teach in my practice, which is juicing for detoxification and cleansing. So if I can get a show of hands as to people who have juiced before, people who juice regularly. Okay, great. So juicing is one of the most incredible tools that we can use to cleanse the body of acidic matter. And I'm going to try to break it down into very easy terms. As you can see here, I have an array of books that I read when I was studying juicing and detoxification and cleansing the body. I wanted to know absolutely everything. So yes, it became a little bit difficult because everybody kind of has different methods and different ways that they go about explaining it. So I've tried to put it into a presentation that's very easy to understand, and it kind of builds on itself for easier understanding. So also at the end of the presentation, I will be demonstrating the difference between a centrifugal juicer and a masticating juicer. So this is mine, it's a Huron. It presses the juice out, and this one kind of like shreds it. And so this one's very loud, this one's very quiet. And one of the first things that I had a question about was what's the difference between all the juicers? There's so many different kinds, and is the more expensive one better? And what's the difference between masticating and centrifugal, and press juices and things like that. So we're gonna go into that, and also a bit of the price ranges of juicers too, just because I had an $80 juicer that lasted 5 years, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the more expensive you go, the higher quality it is. So we're gonna start with, I have a presentation here, and everybody should have a handout with a little space for notes. I was inspired when I came to Jakob, one of Jakob's class. He teaches a lot of classes here, and I was like, wow, that's a great idea for the PowerPoint. So this is one of my favorite quotes. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So with our current, the standard American diet, a lot of the time people think that they're just gonna get better, spontaneously heal if they take a medication, or maybe they just like lighten things up a little bit. But in terms of cleansing and detoxification, you kind of have to change your whole perspective on what nutrition is and what it means to treat your body well. So the foundations of detox. I'll just read straight off of here. Our body contains alkaline tissue. Alkaline is basically all of our organs are alkaline. And toxins are acidic. That's any of the environmental pollutants, anything like household cleaners. We can actually produce our own toxins in our body when we're under stress. And so therefore, toxins magnetize to the cells of our body increasingly over time. So if you have acidic and alkaline, they bind to one another. So by increasing the alkalinity of your diet, you're helping to magnetize acidic waste out of your body. Clearing the toxins assists the body in resetting to a tight, clean-celled, highly functioning state that is much more able to self-regulate and maintain equilibrium. A lot of the time when we gain weight and we feel unwell, it's because we have acidic matter in our body, and a lot of the time what we term as extra weight is not necessarily just a caloric overload, but it can be the body storing toxins in fat tissue in order to protect your vital organs, because your body is going to do whatever it can to protect those organs, and it doesn't really care if it adds a little extra weight onto your body, because it wants to keep you alive, and a little extra weight isn't going to really hurt you. So the blood maintains a pH balance of 7.35 to 7.45. Anything outside of that will cause your body to go into shock. And so your body will draw alkaline minerals from your bones and organs in order to keep your blood at that neutral state so that you can stay alive. So this can result in things like osteoporosis or nutrient deficiencies in other parts of your body. So alkalizing the body with fresh green juices, fruit, alkaline water, fresh air, and positive emotions allows the body to release years of toxic buildup. As each toxic layer is shed, one feels a resurgence of energy, most often forgotten until experienced once again through detox. On a personal note, when I first started to cleanse, I had already been in the nutrition world for a few years, and it was only upon cleansing that I started to actually feel incredible and feel surges of energy, almost euphoric. And so I continued on, and with each level of detox that I went through, I started to feel much more alive and much more awake and much more observant of life and energy around me. So that was something that was not just physical, to do with my physical health, but just mental and spiritual. So once acidic matter is shed, it is far easier to maintain the alkaline state. Taste buds will adjust accordingly, craving the alkaline, water-rich fruits and vegetables most of all, and this creates an upward spiral because you're actually craving healthy, cleansing foods. So I think the average 35-year-old male has about 5 pounds of decaying matter in his intestinal tract. That's 35 years old, the average male. So somebody who eats a particularly acidic diet will have more than that, and that's why as we get older, we tend to get thicker around the waist. It's not necessarily just because we're gaining weight, but because we have more stuff sitting caked onto the inside of our intestinal tract. And so by having alkaline foods, you're helping to kind of pull that stuff out of the body. And so you can actually see it happening when you go through, say, a juice detox. A lot of the time people will claim that they have seen thick black tar-like substance move out of their body. And as horrible as that sounds, once it comes through and leaves your body, you experience a surge of wellness and a clearing. So, like if you know how it feels to kind of purge your house of all this stuff that you don't need and you donate it, you give it away, it feels great, it feels enlightening. Hence the name of my practice, which is the Enlightened Principle. It's about enlightening and feeling good and vibrant. It's not just about pouring nutrients into your body. So in order to cleanse, we need to access the stored waste that is in our organs and fat tissue, and make sure that once we get to it by means of alkaline hydration and enzymes, we get it out of our body quickly. Many cleanses have the participant feeling quite ill and going through the dreaded detox symptoms: fatigue, headaches, migraines, things of that nature, soreness, achiness. This is because they have awakened the toxin dragon. They have pulled toxins out of their organs or their fat tissue where they were safely stored away, and they've kicked it up and awakened the dragon, so to speak. And so it recirculates in your bloodstream, causing havoc, whereas if you just leave it there, it's not doing that much. It's just kind of sitting in your body. But if you awaken it, you have to get it out really fast. And so that's why there is a stigma around detoxification. People are afraid of feeling foggy and achy and all of those horrible feelings, but you actually don't want to feel those ways. If you are feeling that way, it means that you're not getting the waste out fast enough, because it should be a very enjoyable, very enlightening process. So detox principles: hydrate, that's pretty obvious. You want to make sure that you're getting enough water. Drink fresh raw juices, mostly green. Eat fresh fruit and vegetables. Combine your meals properly. There is such a thing called food combining, and this assists in digestion. It helps things to move through your body quickly and efficiently, because digestion takes about 70% of your energy. So if you have a very heavy and hard to digest meal, it's just going to sit there and your body's going to be using 70% of your energy to digest that meal. Hence the Thanksgiving coma and those kinds of things. Whenever you have a big meal, you tend to feel a little sluggish afterwards, because your body, it's going to it's going to make digestion the #1 priority because it wants to keep you alive. It's your source of life, your digestion, your ability to assimilate nutrients. And so it doesn't really care if you're moving or not. It's going to digest, more than anything else. And you see it in deer as well. Deer will eat and then they'll lay down in the grass for a while. They'll regurgitate their food, bring it back down, regurgitate it again, bring it down. And they're resting in order to assimilate the nutrients of what they've eaten. And so humans are the same way, but if you make your digestion very easy and quick moving, then you won't have that energy dip after you eat. So eat the right foods, light to heavy, the right foods being fresh fruits and vegetables and their juices and herbs. Thank you. Light to heavy, I know that a lot of the time you are told to eat, breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper, right? But in this case, I heavily promote eating light to heavy, juicing, and then fruit, and a light, salad lunch or well-combined lunch, and then having your dinner as, the heavier meal of the day. This doesn't mean eating like a massive dinner, that is overwhelming, but having a bigger, comforting dinner. And I've not ever met one person who likes to have a very light dinner, ever. Dinner is that time of day where you're going to be relaxing and resting. Your body is it's assimilating still. And in the early morning, before you wake up, you start the detoxification phase. And that's when you start juicing and eating fresh fruit. You're making it easy for your body to detox. So, and also, if you eat light to heavy, you're helping your body to use its energy on your day to digest. But you're still giving it nutrients via the juices and the fresh fruit. Balancing your alkalinity. This is very, very important. And for most people, this means usually having a lot more alkaline in your diet than acidic. And of course, acidic is okay to have here and there, and it's usually the acidic foods are the ones that we kind of crave, meats or cheeses or the processed foods. But there's a certain amount that usually people will say 80% alkaline, 20% acidic. But you can. If you feel like you have a lot of acid waste in your body, you can kind of go a little higher than that. It's all about really understanding where you are and figuring out what's best for you. Balancing your body's ecosystem. This means, for those of you who know about probiotics, and maybe you've been to one of Yakov's classes on probiotics, it's important to make sure that your gut flora is healthy so that you actually can assimilate what you're eating in a better, more assimilable way. But once you actually have a healthy alkaline body and your body is thriving, you don't necessarily need to continue to take probiotics because your body can manage that on its own. Once it's like when you have there's a book called The Body Ecology by Donna Gates, I think her name is. And she talks about the intestinal tract is almost like a forest. If you take, and all of the little creatures that are working in conjunction together, metaphorically speaking, they're like your small intestinal flora. So you want to make sure that they're happy and healthy, but if you take something like antibiotics, you're clearing the forest. And so your body actually does need a little bit of a boost. It needs some additional probiotics to help get it established again, and so that your inner ecosystem can get reestablished. Move your body in an enjoyable way. A lot of the time, people who are trying to lose weight tend to go crazy on these exercise regimens, stressing their body out. And once you do that, you're releasing stress hormones. You're causing stress on your body's, skeletal system and your muscles, and that actually produces acid in your body. So you have to make sure that when you exercise, you're not overdoing it. You're doing it in a way that it makes your body feel good, and then also increasing the alkalinity in order to offset the acid waste that you both may be stirring up and that you might be causing through the stress on your body. One of the best ways of exercising that I really enjoy is rebounding on a mini trampoline. It actually helps to pump your lymphatic system. Every time you jump, and you're basically helping to pump your lymphatic system, which helps to clear out acidic waste. So, and also they say, I'm not sure how scientifically accurate this is, but they say that 5 minutes of jumping on a rebounder is like doing 20 minutes of cardio, like jogging. So, and it's very enjoyable. That's why kids like it so much. They are intuitive, and they like to bounce on things because they're still intuiting their body's desires, and it's fun. And then to assist the detox process, this means helping your mindset to meditate, assist in your mind-body connection, to rest, getting solid rest every night. I usually do a guided meditation as I'm falling asleep, and it helps to put me into a more restful sleep. And also to do possibly colonics or enemas. And I know that a lot of people don't like that suggestion, but it does help to clear out the intestinal tract, especially as you're detoxifying and you're stirring up waste. Once you clear out the intestinal tract, your body says, okay, we're ready to dump a little more now because we're clear. There's no traffic jam in your intestinal tract, and it helps to hydrate this dehydrated black matter off of the sides of your intestinal wall. It hydrates it, and with the alkalinity, it will pull it off. So once you do that, you experience like a sense of renewal and rejuvenation and revival. So it's as scary as it sounds, starting with an enema kit is a good way to go, and I'm going to go over that a little bit. I've been talking a lot. Does anybody have any questions so far? Yes.
Have you ever heard of the Garrison therapy coffee enema?
Yes, I have.
What do you think of that?
To be honest with you, for me, I don't personally have any chronic issues, so I've never felt the desire or need to go that route with the coffee enemas because it is stimulating, but it does cause your liver to dump toxins. But I have always just used water, and I suggest to my clients to just use water unless you're in a sort of a life-threatening situation, in which case that may be the right route to go. Sometimes people put herbs, different kinds of herbs in their enemas, but to me, I found that with the amount of herbs and alkalinity that you get through your juice, that's already helping to magnetize stuff out of your intestinal tract, and so that in itself is, its own magnet. So, yes.
I understand that there are certain foods that we think of as acidic initially, like a lemon, but as the digestion process happens, they actually turn alkaline, like
Yes.
a lemon. Can you talk on that and give some examples of foods that you can think are acidic and are not?
Absolutely. So lemons and limes have minerals in them that once they enter into the stomach, they are alkaline, but when they're still in the mouth, before they're digested, they are still fairly acidic, and so they are going to cause, if you, like as a kid, I used to just eat limes, and I think it was because my mother's Peruvian, and she would serve, white rice and meat, which are both very acidic things, and so I think it was my body's way of craving alkalinity. So I would just, every day, all day long, I would just be sucking on limes. So they are very alkaline. And then there's other things like, milk, which are alkaline, when they're sitting on a table, but once you digest them, they're very acidic. So milk is actually not an alkaline substance. Other examples, oh gosh. I'm not sure of any other examples to the extent of limes and lemons, because they are, people would assume that they're acidic just because they're very sour. But apple cider vinegar, I believe that turns out to be alkaline. Most other fermented foods, I believe, something I read recently, they are fairly acidic, like balsamic vinegar is acidic.
So what are your thoughts on, I guess, probiotics and taking supplements? People always say, well, most physicians that I work with always suggest that, supplements are good, but if you can naturally supplement things, such as you're saying, instead of taking an oral probiotic, to actually do something more naturally in your diet to insert the same type of,
Right.
thing. So I was just curious what, in juicing, of course, alkaline is important, but you're thinking about the probiotic piece too regarding gut health. Would you suggest taking an oral probiotic, or would you suggest, or is that something in which, that, of course it's a choice, but something in which you would want to lean towards, especially if you're juicing,
Right.
to insert that kind of thing in?
Right. So the question is on supplementing probiotics and whether that's a good thing to do. So with probiotics, it really depends on the individual.
Right.
So if you have a history of taking antibiotics, or if you've been on like birth control, or if you have an unbalanced system, I do recommend some supplements for people, just to get them back on track fast. But like in the terms of enzymes, you want your stomach to produce its own enzymes, because once you start taking digestive enzyme supplements, it'll shut off, your body will say, oh, we don't have to do this anymore because we're getting it externally, so let's just shut off this production. But if somebody's on their deathbed and they're needing to digest food, you're not going to say, oh, we're just going to wait until your body kicks in, because they're at a state where they need to assimilate. So with probiotics, if you've had a history of antibiotics and things like that, then for sure to get your body back in balance would be great. But also supplementing with alkaline foods and just getting it back in balance. You want your body to be able to start doing it on its own. So yes.
I'll just jump in with a little point there. Yeah. So I've talked about this before. There's a great series, I believe it's great, called The Truth About Cancer, which is well worth seeking out. It's you can find it on the internet. But what that basically says is that cancer is not it's not a natural disease. It's a disease of toxicity, of the toxicity we live in. So, some more than others. And but one thing I wanted to speak to about, because it speaks to what you're talking about today, Alexandra, is there's 9 episodes in it, and the 6th one speaks in great detail about detoxification and about why it's good. Supplementing, not supplementing supplements, but supplementing what you're saying.
Right.
But it's because there's a lot of angst about it at the moment. I'm finding so what we've got this lobby of the food as a food industry, which is a great name, industry for food. But I'll be quick here. And they're now saying, oh, detoxification is a sham. It's all it's a fad and all this stuff. Well, it's not. The reality is, they've got the money to take over the media if they need to. Typically, the body of people who are talking about detoxification aren't billionaires, So I'm just saying that and I can speak very quickly to myself, because I've known Alexandra for 6 years and followed a lot of what she's talked about, and I feel great for it. And I had a friend just quickly whose wife was diagnosed with cancer when she was in her 20s, pregnant. And they almost went down the chemotherapy route, and instead they went down the sort of route Alexandra is talking about, and she went into remission and has never been out, and has now got 2 children, a healthy family. So this works, that's the bottom line.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, yes, it's there has yet to be a lot of scientific experiment on detoxification. But it's not something that really makes a lot of people any money, because
right.
You're supporting farmers, and or growing your own food, which doesn't really make many people that much money. Yes.
Oh, I just want to say that there is a really good movie on this very topic that is free on Netflix. It's called Food Matters, and it talks about this.
Right, yes, Netflix is wonderful. It has a lot of really good ones.
Mm-hmm.
There's another excellent documentary on there called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, about an Australian man who had a lot of issues, and he went on a 40-day.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah.
The name of the movie?
Yes.
It's called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. It's pretty humorous. It's got some good animation. And he's very honest and down to earth about his journey. And he does 40 days of juicing, and he basically changes his life. And then he's now got books about it, and he's got a nice attitude about it, and he's relatable.
And he's still alive.
Yeah, exactly. And he actually goes into, there's a number 2 for that series, or for that documentary, and he talks about how once he came back from the juice cleanse, he did start gaining a little weight back, and then he started feeling sluggish again. And so, he details his struggles and talks about what worked for him and what doesn't. So it's a good one to watch. Detox no-nos. Packaged diet foods. I think most of us here would know that. And genetically modified organisms. Those have been shown to have like organ damage in rats, and they do testing on rats because they're genetically similar to us, surprisingly. Or maybe not so surprisingly, but pesticides. And here they don't have any genetically modified stuff here. That's one of the policies. So, and everything's organic, so you can be pretty trusting of what's here. Pesticides. I have a client who worked on a farm, and she sprayed her farm with pesticides constantly, and that's when she started noticing a decline in her health. And so, and she was always very, very healthy and hardy. So pesticides are definitely not something you want residing in your fat tissue. Aggressive exercise, unless you experience surges of pure energy. And what I mean by that is, if you feel, fatigued and things, and you're trying to force yourself to run really fast on a treadmill and it just feels torturous, you're actually just stressing your body out. You're not helping it. So if instead yoga sounds good, that would be a better thing, because you're stretching, you're increasing circulation, you're decreasing cortisol in your body, and you're, it's more balancing in your hormones. But if you're somebody who loves the rush of running and it just sounds good to you, then by all means, just follow what sounds good to your body, because your body will always speak to you what it needs. If it needs rest, rest. If you're constantly fatigued, it's telling you that it needs rest. So, and then the more you juice and the more you cleanse, the more you'll realize you just have these bursts of energy where you just want to dance or you just want to go running. And the more that I juiced and cleansed, the more I noticed that my energy was just spiraling up, and I just get these moments of just energy, and I just want to dance.
So, in other words, you think you're a toddler again?
Yeah, yeah. You start de-aging. You do kind of turn into a kid again.
Yeah.
You just have this like limberness, and in high school I felt like an 80-year-old woman, kind of depressed and not really happy about life. And I feel way younger now than I did back then, and far happier and far more energetic. Big breakfasts and tiny dinners. It goes along the light to heavy route. Big breakfasts take away from your energy throughout the day, but if you have a light breakfast, it helps you to feel more energetic because your body's not diverting